Well, okay, morning, guys. I figured it's a nice time to take a little video because finally we have two finished production GMAMs. So I think, if my memory serves me correctly, it was middle of September when I got the first laser cutting pieces for it. So now we're just about just past the middle of March, right? So 6 months, I'd say, yeah. From start to finish, which is great. It's nice to see quick progress, but it was also lucky because even if you've got the time, you also need to have a few ducks in the row. Like, for example, castings need to come on time, and castings can actually take 6 months to arrive all on their own. So, you could really be delayed by things outside of your control. So, yeah, it was really, really lucky that they all came in on time and that there were no delays for materials. And I especially now, I kind of start to think that it's going to be harder and harder to get materials all to arrive when you need them and to have them all lined up nicely. So yeah, that's really it's gone really well. I think also because this is now the production version, so we've got, when you do your first version, you're gonna come across problems no matter how hard you try. So it's nice to see this. I can confidently now say this is a production version, and everything can. It's all been planned in. I've got the workflow, which I guess is probably the most important thing. If you have the workflow for every single part of it, then you can start to confidently predict build times, as long as you don't have delays from various suppliers. And the last piece to go on these, we were away for the weekend, so there's a bit of a delay. I could have had them all finished last week, but so here we've got the SSJ ejector. That there was a little bit of a gap there last week. Otherwise, they were pretty much together. There's, as you can tell, there's a huge amount of detail. So what can I point out? Oh yeah, okay, well, you see the little blowdown baffles underneath as well. You've got the blowdown lever linkage here. All of the various linkages for the steam reverser. The little steam pipe coming down to the steam cylinder for the steam reverser, and the little drain pipe underneath. As you probably know, the rods for these ones for the production version are all stainless steel, and the GMAM is probably one of the most complex garrets that you can do for various reasons, but one of them is that if you're milling the rods on the milling machine, you quickly discover that they are almost all fluted. So not only do you have to waste, i.e. thin down the middle section, but you also have to groove them as well. So there's a lot of work involved in this. The coupling rods are wasted and fluted, the con rods are wasted and fluted, the eccentric rods the same, the radius rods the same. The only ones that are not fluted are the combination lever and union link. So that's it's a lot, but that all has to be done for it to look right. And then also the cradle, the boiler cradle's got all of these little buttresses. And that's actually, I've not seen that on any other of the African garrets. So it's quite a It's quite a one to tackle. Here's the mechanical stoker engine. They came out nicely, I think. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, we've got, let's turn this over to the front. I'll go around here. Mechanical lubricators with all the little lubricator feed pipes and the lubricator linkage with the nice shiny brass hand wheel. And using springs and heat shrink tubing, I think I really like the way these water equalizing pipes came out. So I think in most other garrets you have some of these big side pipes on the other garrets are the water pipes, but on the GMAM they're actually quite thin. So these ones over here on the engine units, and then they come down here onto the boiler cradle, and yeah, joined up by these flexible pipes. So you can also see the vacuum cylinders with their linkages under there. And I think also a couple of other final details, which only went on today. I'm going to try, I'll have to lift the camera up for this. And I found the camera struggles to focus when I start to move it around. It's a bit annoying. Anyway, this will probably be a really hard one to show you because it's so small, but these are the tiny little cab roof lifting hooks that I riveted on this morning, and they look the part. And I guess, well, we can hope that the camera focuses on the interior. Anyway, that's sort of visible. You can see the seats, driver and fireman's seats. And I'm not sure whether that's focusing very well, but anyway, you get an idea of the scale backhead, and ×2. Here's its satin black South African Railways livery twin on there as well. Yeah, it's again the focus problem. On this side, let's see if I can get it to show very much about this side. We'll see. Anyway, here you have quite a crowd of piping and linkage detail on the fireman's side. You've got the injector sellers valves. You've got the piping to the injectors, the injector handles, and something you don't see on all of the GMAMs is the steam heat valve and its pipework at the bottom there, because I don't think many of them are used very much for passenger hauling, obviously, so maybe that was an optional extra. So yeah, and then just yeah, again, I can only apologize for this silly camera not wanting to focus, but you can just see here the firing irons ready to do some fire cleaning. And then very typical on the GMAMs are these rear headlamp cowlings. So that's soldered steel. And the lights with their reflectors and glass all ready to be connected up to LEDs. Yeah, so these ones, I say this is completion for me for these projects, because the next step, that being motorized, the next step is the electronics, and there are various options for those. So I would say, I bring them to completion at this stage, and then some people might prefer static display models, some might prefer some analog electronics, and some might prefer digital electronics, and so on. So I just also spotted these the regulator linkages over here, including the little support bracket on the front part of the regulator rod, because otherwise it starts to get a bit wobbly on the full size one anyway. Yeah, right, well, that's just a bit of an overview of the features of the production GMAM, and the carry boxes shouldn't be too long coming now. They've got the molded sponge just the same as the previous one, so keeps them very safe in transit. You can put the whole box on its end and it doesn't really do much damage. Well, it doesn't do any damage. It's very it's as strong as it gets, really, so very good for storage and transport. Once the electronics are in, all of these steam manifold spindles have hollows, little holes in the front of these spindles for the actual spindle shafts to be stuck in there to give that final little completion. But I wouldn't put them in now, because the cabs have to come off and the boilers have to come off for electronics one way or the other. So those don't have them yet. But once you're happy with the electronics and it's all running well, it's a nice little final touch. You take a pair of tweezers and some 1mm steel and just pop them into there. Well, I think for now that is it. They'll go under the dust sheets until their boxes arrive, and then that'll make some space for the next few projects. Okay, chat soon.